Let's explore my favorite goat yoga studios in Bryan. In this episode, I share my favorite tofu. Just stop. Let's dive into my favorite Texas themed boutiques in. No, you will not. Those are good ideas. Plus, my audience wants to know all the happening spots in Bryan and College Station. We don't even leave the house. You are not the expert on things to do in Bryan and College Station. Consider this a hostile takeover of your channel. From now on, it is no longer living in Bryan and College Station. Now, this channel is called Investing in Bryan and College Station, Texas. Where if you're looking to invest here in Bryan or College Station, you found the right channel and the right guy. All my contact information is in the description below. And I really hope that you like and subscribe to this channel because we're going to share you all of the insights to the Bryan and College Station area, where to invest, how to make the best return, and how to grow your wealth over time. In this, the first episode of Investing in Bryan and College Station, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that is house hacking. So what is house hacking? House hacking simply means you buy a house that also makes you money. Usually this means renting out the rooms or buying a duplex and renting out one side, or maybe even Airbnb-ing the house on weekends. So in this specific episode, I want to talk about my clients that recently closed on a duplex. I think they're a great case study for house hacking and why it's so powerful. So this couple, a young couple, they're both engineers, so they have good paying jobs. They're dinks, dual income, no kids. So really, they could qualify for a pretty nice house. They could probably get pre-qualified for a single family house in the $300,000 to $400,000 range. At $400,000, they would have a very impressive house that I'm sure their friends and families would be a little in awe of, right? To be in your early 20s and be buying such an impressive house. But my clients weren't short-sighted. They knew that that was not going to be their path to wealth. So they made a decision to look for and buy a duplex. So how does all this work out? Well, it turns out that you can use the same product, the same loan product, to buy a duplex as you can a single family house. So if you're pre-approved for $400,000 on a single family house, you are also likely pre-approved for the same amount on a duplex, threeplex, or even a fourplex. So in their case, the duplex was a good fit for them. And in this case, they went with a 2000s built duplex. These now are selling between $385,000 and into the low 400s. In this case, my clients put under contract for right about $400,000. So let's look at the numbers real quick. If they were to buy a single family house for $400,000 on, let's say, like a 5% down loan, then their monthly payment, including tax and insurance, would be somewhere in the $3,300 to $3,500 range. Well, when they're buying their duplex, it's the same expenses. The difference, of course, is that half the house has income. The other half of the house is rented out by a tenant. Now in this case, we're gonna fill that half of the duplex for about $1,500 to $1,800 a month. We'll call it $1,700. So they effectively are lowering their monthly expenses by $1,700 as compared to buying the single family house for $400,000. Now the beauty of it is the appreciation is really where you grow your wealth. We all know that homeowners generally and statistically end up wealthier than renters, right? So a home can really be a great asset, a great investment, but you're supercharging it when you house hack. So instead of buying a $400,000 house, which in this market would appreciate around 4%, so $16,000 a year, they're buying a $400,000 duplex, also appreciating by around $16,000 a year, but they've lowered their expenses by $20,000 a year. So what can you do with that $20,000? If they took that money that they saved and they invested it, because of course they're investors, and let's say they just put it in the stock market in the S&P 500. And let's say that they did that over the next 25 years, right? Which is way less than the standard retirement. The standard retirement's about 40 years. So this would be early retirement for them. They put that money into the S&P 500 and let it grow. At the end of the 25 years, they'd have over $1.2 million. So this one decision to buy a duplex instead of the fancy single family home has set them up for early retirement. Now, if I had to guess, they're not gonna just do this once. If they're anything like the rest of my clients and myself, once you do it once, you get the itch to do it again. So if you do this every 2 or 3 years, you'll even expedite that process, getting yourself to that wealth level, that early retirement even sooner. So what are all the ways that you can house hack here in Bryan-College Station? Here are the 5 most common and one that I almost never see. First, of course, is the duplex. So just like we highlighted in this video, you live in one side, rent out the other. Again, you can rent out the other side on Airbnb or long-term rent. Duplexes here in town come in two basic varieties, 80s built or 2000s built. Of course, it's gonna be cheaper for the 80s built product. The next option would be a fourplex. This one's gonna bring in the most amount of money, of course, because you've got 3 renters paying you rent, but you're also managing 3 different units, so it might be a little intense for some of our first-time investors. Another option would be to buy a single family house and rent out the bedrooms. This is really common for young single people who are buying their first house and they want to have extra income, or parents who are buying for their students. So you put your son or daughter in one of the rooms and then you rent out the other bedrooms to their friends to make some income as an investment. The next option would be to buy a single family house and then rent out either a room in the house on Airbnb, or a more popular option here in town, rent out the entire house for big weekends associated with Texas A&M. Those would be ring day weekends, graduation weekends, and everybody's favorite game day weekends. I've heard of some people making as much as $3,000 for a game day weekend here in town. Your 5th option, and the one that I see, is buying a house with an ADU. This is most common in the downtown Bryan area, where you have an older single family house and then there's a garage apartment behind it. ADU, by the way, stands for accessory dwelling unit. Usually it's a detached unit behind the house. So in that case, you can either live in the ADU and rent out the house, or vice versa. In both cases, you have the option of doing a short-term or long-term rent in the unit you're not living in. So what's the type of house hacking we don't see very often? That's a triplex. There's just not a lot of triplexes in town. It's not common here in Bryan-College Station. So if you think that that's the sweet spot for you, I'd probably suggest just going with the fourplex. Hey guys, I really hope you're gonna like this new channel. I am going to be focused much more on investing now, because honestly, that's what I do and that's what most of my clients are interested in. And this is a great town for investing. So every week I'm gonna come out with a new video for you guys, breaking down how my clients, and my friends are investing here in town.